Hey everybody, Ben here from the Bonehead podcast, and welcome to Dungeon Bowl Starting Rosters College of Metal. So we're looking at all of the college teams available for Dungeon Bowl, and we're putting together some starting rosters. So if you're going to be trying out some games of Dungeon Bowl, starting a Dungeon Bowl league, this is going to give you some ideas of where you can go with these awesome mixed team rosters. Now there are a ton of builds in each one of these teams, so this is just some of my favourite and some of the kind of more fun rosters or a really safe place to start. Anyway, let's have a look at College of Metal. So before we delve into some example rosters, let's have a look at just what you can take on this team. So the College of Metal is all about violence. The breakdown is teams associated with the Gold College err on the side of violence, but they do so through an overwhelming use of dedicated blockers like Black Orcs and Bloodseekers rather than big guys, while relying on human and Orc blitzers to act as playmakers. This gives them a well-rounded and flexible playstyle, equally at home when crumping the opposition as they are racing around the dungeon. And this roster basically sums that up. So as linemen, they can take 0 to 16 of Goblin Bruisers, Orc Linemen and Human Linemen. Now that in itself is a pretty decent variety. You've got a stunty, dodgy player there that can run around at speed 6 and take those 3++ dodges through any number of tackle zones, which in the corridors of Dungeon Bowl is pretty useful. Orc Linemen with the high armor are going to be decent for blocking a road and taking a pounding, and the Human Linemen with move 6 and edge 3+ do a good job of being the everyman. But then it gets awesome. So 0 to 4 Orc Blitzers or Human Blitzers. Human Blitzers have one more movement than the Orcs, but the Orcs have one more armor, and both of that is going to be really useful in Dungeon Bowl. I would err on the side of the Human Blitzers for that extra movement, because then you can move them around where you need them to be, but honestly, a corridor full of Orc Blitzers is a very dangerous place to be. You do get 0 to 2 Orc Throwers on this roster, and for that extra element of sure hands is going to be quite useful every now and again, especially as Dungeon Bowl starts to evolve as a constructed format. You might want to grab an Orc Thrower on there to stick leader on him to save that extra cash from your rerolls. But this is the best bit here. You have so much choice in blockers. You get 0 to 6 blockers, Black Orcs, so the Black Orc Brawlers from the Black Orc team, Big Gun Blockers, Nobility Guards, and Khorne Bloodseekers. So on one end there you've got the Black Orcs that start with Grab and Brawler, which is going to be very useful as soon as you get into combat. You've got the Big and Blockers who are move 5, strength 4. You've got the Nobility Bodyguards with Stand Firm and Wrestle. That's going to be incredibly useful every now and again. It's going to stop you from being pushed into a wall, it's going to stop you from being pushed into a teleporter, and that Wrestle is going to be able to drag down absolutely anybody. But strength 3, it's a bit fragile for the College of Metal. Unlike the Khorne Bloodseeker, who at strength 4 Frenzy is just an absolute sweeper. So the Bloodseeker here performs the role of the big guy on this team. He's the biggest threat. And then you've got a bunch of strength 4, actually that's not fair, a bunch of great blockers, whether they're strength 3 or strength 4 at 90k. It becomes a very flexible team. Now this team, like every other team, gets rerolls for 50k and then 100k after your first match if you're playing a league. So it's going to be challenging to fit all those great players into the roster. So let's have a look at some examples. So let's start off with a mixed roster. We've got mixed 2 rerolls here. This one comes in exactly at 1 million, so we're spending all of our gold pieces. 2 Goblin Bruiser Linemen. So we've initially got a little bit, we've saved 10k taking cheaper linemen, but we've got that dodge stunty element here. So that's going to be very useful. Movement 6, edge 3+ is great, but also that ability to use stunty and dodge to ignore tackle zones and just 3++ it anywhere is going to be sneaky brilliant in this format. Now 4 Human Blitzers is great in any version of Blood Bowl, whether it's Standard, Sevens or Dungeon Bowl, so being able to take all 4 of them on this roster is absolutely key. If we want to save a little bit of cash, we can drop those down to Orc Blitzers, save 5k a pop. Then you could promote a Goblin Bruiser to an Orc or a Human Lineman if you wanted that extra bit of strength. But I don't think you're going to need it, because we've got 4 Black Orc Brawlers or Nobility Bodyguards. Now they're exactly the same price. I think the Black Orc Brawlers are going to be really good in this format, but I had to put the Nobility Bodyguards in there as well because that Wrestle Stand Firm is going to be really useful. Now, they are the same price. They fulfill slightly different roles, and you can take up to 4 of those in this roster. So I wanted to present it as a bit of a choice. Now, with the 4 Human Blitzers having great mobility, I would probably take the Black Orc Brawlers over the bodyguards here. You've got movement sorted. Those guys are going to be really solid for holding a corridor, but so is the bodyguard with Stand Firm and Wrestle. However, that doesn't matter. You've got 4 great blockers there for you to choose from. And 1 very good blocker. The Khorne Bloodseeker on this roster drops in, strength 4, frenzy. He becomes a pseudo big guy for this roster. You got 4 great blockers, 4 great blitzers, and 1 mighty frenzy piece. As soon as you start building up that support, if you've got some supports there, that Bloodseeker is blitzing in and powering anybody you want. We're looking at 4 die blocks all day. So hold the corridors, blitz with your blitzers, and then finish them off with the Bloodseekers. This roster has enough gold left over to have 2 rerolls as well. Now there's a bit of flexing you can do, and that's the great thing about these rosters, is there's so many options. You can take one of them and go, actually, if I take an Orc Blitzer instead of a Human Blitzer, I can then move one of my Goblins to a Human Lineman and kind of boost up the speed. Tons of flexibility, but the mix 2 reroll is probably where I would start with the College of Metal. You get a little bit of everything, it gives you that flexibility, and you still get to have fun with strength 4 dudes and a Bloodseeker. Talking of Bloodseekers, let's see how to get 6 on a team. You can take 4 in the Khorne team, but you can take 6 in the College of Metal. So 6 Seeker Madness roster here comes in at 990, so this comes in with 10k left over. 4 Goblin Bruiser Linemen, you've got 10k, you can promote a couple of those to humans if you want to. 1 Human Lineman, we've already done it with 1, so you've got a little bit of flex in there. 6 Khorne Bloodseekers and 2 rerolls. So I would imagine that the strategy here was pretty clear. You take the Human Lineman and the 4 Goblin Bruisers and they do stuff with the ball potentially. And then the Bloodseekers run around terrorizing anybody. 1 Bloodseeker with a Goblin Bruiser is a fantastic combination. That Goblin Bruiser being able to 3++ dodge into anywhere is going to really help you get a decent support. It's not as good as a Snotling for that, but you're probably looking at a 3++ anywhere to then allow that Bloodseeker to maximize his dice. That's going to be 4 die blocks every time. Now this roster is not the fastest, but those goblins with the boosted agility is going to be pretty useful. You've got 1 Human Lineman here, and like I said, you've got 10k, so you can boost up a couple of other Goblin Bruisers to more humans if you want. That would probably help with the strength element, even though you've got 6 Bloodseekers, and it would definitely open up I don't know. I like the Goblin. Yeah, I like the Goblin Bruisers. It's important to have a Human Lineman so you've got a strength 3 dude to go and send somewhere, but ultimately what you're doing is the 6 Bloodseekers are spreading through the dungeon, just reaping carnage, and then everybody else is running around desperately trying to get the ball. You've got 2 rerolls as well to save you, so when some of those Bloodseeker frenzy blocks go bad, you can kind of save yourself from 2 of them. So this roster, I don't know, I like it. I mean, I was always going to like it because there's 6 Bloodseekers, but 6 Bloodseekers and a bunch of Goblins walk into a dungeon, spoiler alert, they win. So the College of Metal is all about blockers, heavy dudes, right? So let's have a look. Max Blocker 3 reroll build comes in at 995. 3 Goblin Bruiser Linemen, you've got 5k, you can make one of them a human or an orc if you want to. 2 Human Blitzers, so we've got 3 Dodge Stunty dudes, we've got 2 Movement 7 Edge 3 plus blockers, okay? We've got decent mobility on this roster already. And then we just Deep Strike 6 Strength 4 bad boys onto this as well. So 6, you get 6 of any of those blockers, and again I'm lumping them in together. For this roster, I like the Black Orcs, but the big uns give you 1 extra movement, and those bodyguards give you less strength but wrestle stand firm. So I would go 6 Black Orcs, because when you're in the confines, being able to strength 4 grab and brawler is going to be really effective. But if you want to mix, actually 2 brawler grab dudes, 2 big uns for that extra square of movement, and 2 nobility bodyguards to be kind of semi-blitzers with that wrestle ability while being able to control the corridor using stand firm, it's going to give you a really good mix. And that's kind of, you've got so much variety. I would absolutely not hate the idea of taking 6 Black Orc Brawlers, 3 Goblin Bruiser Linemen, and just chucking a couple of Human Blitzers on here. So as we look at these rosters, we kind of identify where to start with your models, and actually this is a Black Orc team with a couple of Human Blitzers. So if you're planning on playing Dungeon Ball and you're looking at the College of Metal and thinking, yeah, that looks fun, you can just take your Nobility Blitzers here, run them as the Blitzers for this team, and use your Black Orc team ready to go. And it's backed up with 3 rerolls, so you are going to be able to get yourself out of a lot of situations. Although if you're running the Black Orcs with Brawler, if you're running the Bodyguards here with Wrestle, and if you're running Human Blitzers with Block, those Goblins have got Dodge. You may not even need 3 rerolls. It gives you the extra ability to do what you need to do, but you could, to be fair, drop a reroll, promote a Goblin to a Human Blitzer. You can do something like that. There's a ton of flexibility with this cost. So we've looked at kind of a Black Orc heavy roster where you start with the Black Orc team and chuck in a couple of Human Blitzers. Let's look at a standard Orc heavy roster. So this one comes in at 990. 2 Orc Linemen, 4 Orc Blitzers, 4 big and blockers. Sounds like a standard Orc team, but we've got a little bit of spice here and a strength 4 frenzy blocker with a Khorne Bloodseeker and 2 rerolls. So you've got 2 Orc Linemen who are slow at movement 5, but they are tough at armor 10. Strength 3, Edge 3, they're going to do most of what you want them to do. Those Orc Blitzers pounding around the corridors here at movement 6 with block, going to be able to do most of what you need them to do. 4 of your blockers though can be big guns, which is movement 5. And the great thing here is if you're just going to use one type, you can flex. So those big gun blockers are the same cost as the Black Orc Bruisers, as the Black Orc Brawlers, and as the Bodyguards. So you can flex 2 of those to something else. If you want a bit more movement, you could potentially upgrade 2 of your Orc Blitzers to 2 Human Blitzers for 5k each. You've got 10k in the kitty there. If you want a little bit more dodge, you can downgrade both those Orc Linemen to Goblins, and that gives you that bit of flexibility. But really, 4 big and 4 blockers, 4 strength 4 blockers backed up with 1 Khorne Bloodseeker as your kind of almost big guy. That's going to give you 20 strength in 5 players. And then you've got 4 blitzers of some description and 2 standard linemen to back it up with 2 rerolls. If you've got an Orc roster, this is where you start. But you can start thinking about, right, this is my roster. What do I want in different? Do I want to take big guns or do I want to take those Black Orcs? I've got 10k. Do I want to promote 2 of my Orc blitzers to Human Blitzers for that extra bit of movement? You know, and that's the cool thing. What we're doing here is we're finding great starting points, and then you can kind of season to your taste. So the last roster we're going to look at today is the Human Heavy build. So we've started with the Black Orc team and flexed out. We started with an Orc team and flexed out. Now we're going to do that same thing for humans. So the Human Heavy roster here comes in at 980. 4 Human Linemen, 4 of those movement 7 Edge 3 plus block blitzers, 2 nobility bodyguards to use that wrestle and stand firm, and 1 Khorne Bloodseeker to be your heavy hitting piece as well. Now 3 rerolls gives this roster a ton of flexibility. This is fast. This is a good mid-range roster. You've got 1 Khorne Bloodseeker to be a heavy hitter, and those nobility bodyguards are going to flex and help. You've got 6 blitzers here really. It's 4 with block, 2 with wrestle. This is a pumped up nobility team. You've got those Human Linemen. So this is a great place to start. Now there's a couple of things you can do here. You can drop a reroll, okay? Bodyguards have got wrestle, Human Blitzers have got block. You should be alright. You can drop a reroll, put that 50k with the 20k you've got left over, and promote a Human Lineman to your second Bloodseeker. At that point you're running 3 Linemen, 4 Blitzers, 2 Bodyguards, and 2 of those Strength 4 Frenzy pieces, with 2 rerolls to keep you in power. And this is the cool thing about all of these rosters, is this is a very good starting roster. It's nice and simple, you know what you're going to do. But within that, you can swap 5k down, take a Goblin. 5k down, take an Orc Blitzer if you don't want extra movement. Flex a Bodyguard into a Black Orc. Or, like I said, drop a reroll and promote a Lineman into your second Bloodseeker. There's so much variety, but the human build here is going to be pretty fast and pretty decent. And all of these rosters are looking fun, and all of them are looking like they're going to be able to decently deal with one-on-one situations. The Human Heavy one is going to be faster and less strong, but the Orcs one, you know, you can send your dudes off into the corridors and they're going to win most one-on-one matchups. The downside is that they're all movement 4 or 5, so it's going to be a bit of a grind getting there. The College of Metal is looking really fun, and it looks like it's going to be a challenge. But like I said, down any corridor, most of these guys are going to be a tough challenge for the other teams, and I really like that. Anyway, like I said, we're just starting out, and these are some starting points for starting rosters. So there's going to be a ton of flexibility, but let me know your rosters of choice for the College of Metal in the comments below, because we are just stepping into a brand new format, a brand new version of this game with 8 brand new teams, and I am very excited. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. We'll be back soon with more Blood Bowl content. Happy Dungeoneering!
Thanks very much for watching. We really appreciate your support. If you want to help support the channel even further, please like and subscribe, or come join us on our Patreon. We have early access to content, we get loads of feedback from you guys, and we try and do competitions as much as we can. Or you can get yourself some Bonehead podcast merch on our Spreadshirt site. So if you want to support a team, especially for the Bonehead Championship, you can pick up a shirt, a mug, things like that. It all helps support the channel, and we really appreciate it. Anyway, links below. Thank you very much. Happy blocking.